Dr. Iris Naylor stared at the device on her workbench, her heart racing. It was small, no bigger than a smartwatch, yet it held the power to change everything. She called it the Quantum Refuge, a device capable of transporting individuals to parallel universes. After years of theoretical work, countless sleepless nights, and more failed experiments than she could count, she had finally done it. But now that it was complete, a deep unease gnawed at her. The world was on the brink of collapse. The climate crisis had escalated beyond control, and governments were crumbling under the weight of economic despair. Wars raged over dwindling resources, and pandemics swept through cities with deadly efficiency. Hope had become a rare commodity, traded in whispers among the desperate. It was in this chaos that Iris had developed the Quantum Refuge, intending it as a last resort, a way out when there was no other option. Iris's lab door creaked open, and she glanced up to see her colleague, Dr. Alex Moreau, enter. His expression was a mixture of awe and concern as he approached the bench. "You actually did it," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the device. Iris nodded. "I did, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do." Alex raised an eyebrow. "This could save millions of lives, Iris, maybe even billions. You've given people a chance to escape the worst of what's coming. But at what cost?" Iris countered. "Each universe we enter will be slightly different. We'll be altering the fabric of those realities just by being there. We might solve our problems, but we could be creating new ones for someone else." Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We're already creating problems just by existing in this world. Maybe a little disruption in a parallel universe is a fair trade for survival." Iris wasn't convinced, but she knew the time for doubts was running out. The government was interested in the Quantum Refuge, and once they got their hands on it, there would be no stopping its use. If she was going to make a decision, it had to be now. "Let's test it," Iris said finally, her voice steady. "We'll be the first to go through, see what it's like on the other side. If it works as intended, then we'll decide what to do next." Alex nodded, the tension between them easing slightly. "Agreed, but we need to be careful. No one knows what we'll find in these other universes." Iris took a deep breath and picked up the Quantum Refuge, strapping it to her wrist. Alex did the same with his own device. They exchanged a final glance, both aware of the gravity of what they were about to do. "On three," Iris said, her finger hovering over the activation button. 1, 2, 3. They pressed the buttons simultaneously, and the world around them shimmered and blurred. A sensation of being stretched and compressed at the same time overwhelmed them. And then, just as suddenly, it was over. They stood in the same lab, but something was different. The air felt heavier, and the lights were dimmer. Iris and Alex exchanged cautious glances. The Quantum Refuge had worked. They were in another universe. But what kind of universe was it? As they stepped out of the lab, the first thing they noticed was the silence. The city outside was eerily quiet, devoid of the usual hum of traffic and the murmur of voices. The sky was a strange shade of orange, casting everything in an otherworldly glow. Buildings that should have been familiar were subtly altered, their shapes and colors just slightly off. "This is unsettling," Alex muttered, scanning the empty streets. Iris nodded, her unease growing. "We need to find someone, see what's going on here." They walked through the city, their footsteps echoing in the silence. It wasn't long before they found their first sign of life. A small group of people huddled together in a park, their expressions wary as they eyed the newcomers. "Excuse me," Iris called out, approaching them cautiously. "Can you tell us what's happening here?" One of the group, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes, stepped forward. "You must be from another place," she said, her voice tinged with suspicion. "We've had a few like you come through recently." Iris and Alex exchanged a glance. "Yes, we are," Iris admitted. "We're from a parallel universe. We're trying to understand what's happening here." The woman sighed, her gaze softening slightly. "Our world has been collapsing for years," she explained. "Climate disasters, pandemics, wars, you name it. We thought we were the only ones left, but then people like you started showing up, talking about other worlds. Some of them came to escape, others to help. But no matter their intentions, always ends the same. They disrupt our world just by being here. Alex frowned. What do you mean by disrupt? Strange things happen when people from other universes arrive, the woman said. Buildings shift, people disappear or change. It's like reality is unraveling. The more outsiders come, the worse it gets. Iris felt a chill run down her spine. We didn't mean to cause harm. We were just looking for a way to survive. I know, the woman replied, her expression sympathetic. But survival isn't without consequences. Over the next few days, Iris and Alex observed the effects their presence had on the world around them. Buildings warped, memories faded, and people they spoke to seemed to forget their own histories. It was as if the universe was struggling to accommodate the foreign elements they represented. The more they saw, the more Iris's guilt grew. She had created the quantum refuge to save lives, but instead it was tearing the fabric of reality apart. And it wasn't just this universe. Every parallel world they had visited had shown signs of similar disturbances. We have to stop this, Iris said one evening as they sat in the lab, their surroundings flickering unnervingly. We can't keep jumping from universe to universe, leaving destruction in our wake. But what's the alternative? Alex asked, his voice heavy with resignation. Our world is falling apart. We'll die if we stay. Maybe we should stay and face the consequences of our actions, Iris replied. We can't keep running away. Alex was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're right, but what about the others? The people who have already used the quantum refuge? They're still out there in other universes causing damage. Iris felt a deep sadness settle over her. I don't know if we can fix what's already been done, but we can start by making sure no one else uses the device. Together, they began working on a way to deactivate the quantum refuge. It was difficult. The device was designed to be resilient, nearly impossible to disable once activated. But Iris was determined, and after days of relentless effort, they succeeded in creating a shutdown sequence. Once we activate this, every quantum refuge will be permanently disabled. Iris explained, her voice trembling slightly. No one will be able to jump to another universe again. Alex nodded, his expression resolute. Let's do it. They initiated the shutdown sequence, and the quantum refuge devices on their wrists flickered, then went dark. For a moment, nothing happened, and then a wave of energy pulsed through the lab, radiating outwards and into the city. Iris and Alex stood in silence, waiting. The lights in the lab dimmed, then brightened, and the air seemed to clear. Outside, the sky shifted back to a familiar shade of blue, and the buildings returned to their original forms. It was as if the universe had taken a deep breath, relieved to be rid of the intruders. It's over, Iris said quietly, a mixture of relief and sorrow in her voice. But even as the world around them stabilized, Iris couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. They had come seeking refuge, but in doing so, they had disrupted the very fabric of reality. And while they had managed to prevent further damage, the consequences of their actions would linger in the multiverse. Months passed, and Iris and Alex returned to their original universe. The situation was as dire as ever, worsening climate crises, political instability, and societal collapse. But they had made a choice to stay and face the consequences, to try and make a difference in their own world rather than running from it. The quantum refuge devices were deactivated, but the knowledge of their existence remained. Other scientists, governments, and even rogue groups sought to replicate Iris's work, hoping to harness the power of parallel universes for their own ends. But Iris refused to help them. She knew the dangers all too well. Instead, she and Alex turned their focus to finding solutions for their world, real solutions that didn't involve escaping to another reality. It was slow, painstaking work, and often felt like a losing battle. But they persevered, driven by the knowledge of what could happen if they didn't. One day, as they were working in the lab, a familiar sensation washed over Iris, the same feeling of being stretched and compressed that she had experienced when using the quantum refuge. She froze, her heart pounding. Did you feel that? She asked Alex, who nodded, his expression tense. Before they could react, the world around them shimmered and blurred, just as it had when they first used the device. When the distortion cleared, they found themselves in a strange, unfamiliar place. It was a lush, green landscape, far removed from the desolate city they had just been in. The air was clean, the sky clear, and the sound of birdsong filled the air. It was a beautiful world, untouched by the disasters that had plagued their own. But as Iris looked around, she noticed something that sent a chill down her spine. There were other people here, hundreds, maybe thousands of them, and many of them were familiar. She recognized scientists, politicians, and even ordinary citizens from her own world. They found a way to use the quantum refuge, Alex said quietly, his voice tinged with despair. They've come here to escape. Iris felt a deep sense of dread settle over her. The quantum refuge had been shut down, but somehow people had found a way to bypass the deactivation and continue jumping between universes. And now, they had found a world that seemed like paradise, a place where they could start over. But Iris knew better. No world was without its own problems, and the arrival of so many outsiders would inevitably disrupt the delicate balance of this universe, just as it had in the others. The cycle of destruction and displacement would begin anew. We have to stop them, Iris said, her voice trembling with urgency. We can't let this happen again. But as she spoke, she realized the enormity of the task before them. They were just two people, standing against a tide of humanity desperate for a way out. And even if they succeeded in shutting down the quantum refuge once more, there would always be others willing to take the risk to jump to another universe in search of a better life. Iris and Alex exchanged a glance, both understanding the grim reality of their situation. They couldn't save every world, but they could try to protect this one, at least for a little while longer. With a heavy heart, Iris activated the emergency shutdown protocol she had developed after their last encounter with the quantum refuge. A pulse of energy radiated outwards, and the devices on the wrists of the newcomers flickered and went dark. But this time, something was different. Instead of stabilizing, the world around them began to flicker, the landscape shifting and blurring as if caught between two realities. Iris's heart sank as she realized what was happening. Their interference had caused a rift between universes, and now the very fabric of this world was unraveling. "We've gone too far," Alex whispered, his voice filled with despair. "We can't stop it." Iris felt tears welling up in her eyes as she watched the world around them disintegrate, the beautiful landscape fracturing into a kaleidoscope of shifting realities. The people around them screamed in terror as they were caught in the rift, their forms flickering and fading as they were pulled between worlds. In the midst of the chaos, Iris clung to Alex, their hands intertwined as they faced the inevitable together. They had tried to save their world, but in the end, they had only hastened its destruction. As the last remnants of the universe faded into darkness, Iris felt a deep sense of regret. The quantum refuge had promised salvation, but it had only brought more suffering. And now, they were all lost, trapped in the void between worlds with no way out. But even as the darkness closed in, a single thought flickered in Iris's mind, a spark of hope that refused to be extinguished. Perhaps, in another universe, they could find a way to make things right. Perhaps there was still a chance to create a refuge that didn't bring destruction in its wake. And with that thought, Iris and Alex disappeared into the void, their forms dissolving into the infinite possibilities of the multiverse. As Iris and Alex drifted in the void, they felt themselves being pulled in different directions by unseen forces. The sensation was disorienting, like being torn apart and reassembled in 1,000 different forms. Just as they thought they could endure no more, the pressure eased, and they found themselves standing on solid ground once again. The world around them was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was a realm of contradictions, where landscapes from countless universes collided and overlapped. Towering mountains rose from seas of molten lava, and forests of glowing trees grew beside icy tundras. The sky was a swirling mass of colors, shifting constantly between day and night. "What is this place?" Alex murmured, his voice filled with awe and trepidation. I don't know, Iris replied, her eyes wide as she took in the chaotic landscape. It's like we've been thrown into a world made of fragments from different realities. As they explored further, they encountered other beings, some human, others not, who had also been pulled into this fractured realm. These inhabitants, like Iris and Alex, were lost and confused, trying to make sense of their new surroundings. Some had formed small communities, while others wandered alone, searching for a way back to their original worlds. It didn't take long for Iris and Alex to realize that the fractured realm was unstable. The fabric of reality here was fragile, constantly shifting and reshaping itself. Entire regions would dissolve without warning, replaced by new landscapes that seemed to emerge from the void. The inhabitants lived in constant fear, knowing that their surroundings could vanish at any moment, taking them with it. Driven by a sense of responsibility, Iris and Alex began to search for a way to stabilize the realm. They reasoned that if they could find the source of the instability, they might be able to reverse the damage caused by the quantum refuge. Their journey led them to the heart of the fractured realm, where they discovered a vast, pulsating rift, a tear in the fabric of the multiverse. The rift was the source of the chaos, a wound in reality that bled fragments of different universes into the realm. It was a place of immense power, but also of great danger. As they approached the rift, they could feel its pull, like a gravitational force that threatened to tear them apart. "We have to close it," Iris said, her voice determined. "It's the only way to stop the instability." "But how?" Alex asked, his brow furrowed in concern. "We don't have the tools or the knowledge to fix something like this." Iris was silent for a moment. Then her eyes lit up with an idea. The quantum refuge was designed to manipulate the fabric of reality, right? If we can repurpose it, maybe we can use it to close the rift? But the devices were deactivated, Alex reminded her. And even if we could reactivate them, there's no guarantee they would work in this place. "We have to try," Iris insisted. "We've seen what happens when the quantum refuge is misused, but maybe, just maybe, we can use it to undo the damage." The task was monumental, but Iris and Alex were relentless. They scoured the fractured realm for remnants of the quantum refuge technology, scavenging from devices that had been left behind by other refugees. With each piece they collected, they slowly rebuilt the quantum refuge, modifying it to interact with the unstable energies of the rift. As they worked, they encountered others who had also been drawn to the rift, scientists, engineers, and mystics from different universes, all of whom had their own ideas about how to stabilize the realm. Some offered their help, while others warned against tampering with forces they didn't fully understand. But Iris and Alex were determined. They knew the risks, but they also knew that doing nothing would only lead to further chaos. Finally, after weeks of intense effort, they completed their modified quantum refuge, a device capable of channeling the energies of the rift and hopefully sealing it once and for all. Standing before the rift, Iris and Alex prepared to activate the device. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air crackled with energy. As Iris reached for the activation switch, she hesitated, her mind racing with doubts. "What if we make things worse?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What if we end up destroying this world and every other world connected to it?" Alex placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've come this far. We have to believe that we can make a difference. We're not running away anymore. We're trying to fix what's broken." Iris took a deep breath and nodded. With a final, resolute push, she activated the device. The effect was immediate. A surge of energy radiated from the quantum refuge, converging on the rift. The tear in reality shuddered and pulsed, the chaotic energies swirling around it drawn into the device. The ground shook violently, and the sky darkened as the rift began to shrink. But as the rift closed, the fractured realm itself began to collapse. The landscapes around them dissolved into nothingness, and the inhabitants cried out in terror as they were caught in implosion. Iris and Alex held on tightly to each other, bracing themselves for the end, but instead of being torn apart, they felt a strange sensation of being lifted, as if they were being pulled upwards through the collapsing reality. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves standing in a vast, empty space. There was no ground beneath their feet, no sky above them, just an infinite void stretching out in all directions. And yet, they were not alone. Before them stood a figure, its form shifting and indistinct, as if it were made of the very fabric of the multiverse itself. The figure regarded them with an expression that was both ancient and compassionate. "Who are you?" Iris asked, her voice echoing in the emptiness. "I am a guardian of the multiverse," the figure replied, its voice resonant and powerful. "I have watched over the countless realities that exist within this vast tapestry of existence." "Why did you bring us here?" Alex asked, his tone cautious. "You have done what many could not," the guardian said. "You have faced the consequences of your actions and sought to repair the damage you caused. But in doing so, you have uncovered a truth that few are aware of. The multiverse is fragile, and every action, every choice has repercussions across all realities. What happens now?" Iris asked, her heart pounding with uncertainty. The guardian regarded them with a solemn gaze. "The rift has been sealed and the fractured realm has been restored. But the damage done by the quantum refuge will linger, and the multiverse will bear the scars of this chapter in its history." Iris and Alex exchanged a glance, both feeling a deep sense of responsibility. "Is there anything we can do to help?" Iris asked. "You have already done much," the guardian replied, "but there is still more to be done. The knowledge of the quantum refuge cannot be allowed to spread further. It is too dangerous, too unpredictable. You must ensure that this technology is never used again." Iris nodded, understanding the gravity of the task before them. "We'll do whatever it takes." The guardian smiled, a gesture that was both comforting and mysterious. "You have proven yourselves to be worthy guardians of your own world. But remember, the multiverse is vast, and there will always be those who seek to manipulate it for their own ends. Stay vigilant, and use the wisdom you have gained to protect the balance." With that, the guardian raised a hand, and the void around them began to shimmer and shift. The emptiness dissolved, replaced by the familiar surroundings of their lab. Iris and Alex blinked, adjusting to the sudden return to their own world. The lab was quiet, and the quantum refuge devices lay dormant on the workbench. It was as if nothing had happened, as if the journey through the multiverse had been nothing more than a dream. But they knew better. The experience had changed them, and the weight of what they had witnessed would stay with them forever. As they looked out the window at the crumbling world outside, they knew their work was far from over. The quantum refuge might be disabled, but the challenges facing their world remained. But this time, they would face those challenges head-on, with the knowledge that running away was never the answer. They would stay and fight for their world, for the people who called it home, and for the balance of the multiverse itself. With the knowledge that they've become guardians of their world, Iris and Alex begin a new chapter in their lives. They decide to work in secret, forming an underground network of scientists, engineers, and thinkers committed to preventing any misuse of multiverse technology. This network, called the Guardians, operates in the shadows, dismantling any remaining quantum refuge devices and tracking down those who might seek to recreate them. However, they soon discover that not everyone shares their views. Some see the multiverse as a place of infinite possibilities, ripe for exploration and exploitation. These rogue factions, undeterred by the dangers, begin to develop their own versions of the quantum refuge. Iris and Alex must confront these factions, balancing their desire to protect their world with the ethical implications of limiting scientific discovery. Their efforts lead to a cat-and-mouse game across different realities, where the stakes grow ever higher. Each time they close a portal or shut down a device, new threats emerge, pushing the boundaries of their abilities and resolve. As Iris and Alex delve deeper into the mysteries of the multiverse, they uncover something unexpected, a hidden universe that serves as a mirror to their own. In this universe, they encounter versions of themselves who made different choices, leading to vastly different outcomes. This discovery forces them to confront their own fears and doubts. What if they had never tried to close the rift? What if they had used the quantum refuge for personal gain? These alternate realities present them with moral dilemmas as they witness the consequences of their other selves' actions. In the end, they must decide whether to merge these parallel versions of themselves, integrating their experiences and knowledge, or to let these other worlds exist independently with all the imperfections and dangers they bring. Years pass, and Iris and Alex have succeeded in their mission to a large extent. The knowledge of the quantum refuge has faded into legend, with only a few knowing the true history. But as they grow older, they begin to question what their legacy will be. They realize that the multiverse is still out there, vast and unexplored. While they have focused on protecting their world, they wonder if there might be a way to use the multiverse's potential for good without the destructive consequences they witnessed. Their final journey takes them to the origin point of the multiverse, the birthplace of all realities. Here, they encounter the ancient forces that govern existence, and they must negotiate a new understanding of what it means to be a guardian. This journey could either bring them peace, knowing they've done all they can, or set them on a new path with a deeper understanding of the multiverse and its infinite possibilities. The story concludes with Iris and Alex leaving a record of their experiences, a codex that details the dangers and wonders of the multiverse. They pass this knowledge on to a new generation of guardians who will continue their work, but with the wisdom of those who came before. As they step back from their roles, they find solace in knowing that the multiverse is in safer hands and that they have contributed to the protection of countless worlds. Their final moments are spent in quiet reflection as they watch the sunrise over a world they helped save, knowing that their legacy will endure. These additional parts and epilogue could extend the story, providing a broader exploration of the characters' roles as guardians and the ethical complexities of their mission. If you want to continue, the story can evolve into a more epic saga touching on themes of power, responsibility,